The 4-Minute Men of Chicago by the History Committee, the Alpha Editions. I'm just laying here, just going over this book. It's a quick little book. Anybody can knock out in a few minutes. I like books like this, about 50 pages. It's a quick little book. But anyway, about the 4-Minute Men, they were a committee that was established by President Woodrow Wilson. They were established, this was shortly after the sinking of the Lusitania, and they were trying to get the American population to go into wanting to get into World War I. The United States population really wasn't trying to get into World War I. They were, the country was doing well. So what they did was they formed a committee. They were called the 4-Minute Men. Now, the reason they were called the 4-Minute Men is because they, in between, they were going to movie theaters. Now, it would have a little intermission in between the changing of the reels. So it would be about a 4-minute intermission, and in that 4 minute, these guys would get up there and they would say their speech, and they would persuade people to buy bonds and to invest in the military, invest in the war effort, take initiative, to get involved, be patriotic, and they would give these speeches, and they would do this all over the country. They formed that committee to go all over the country in the different theaters, schools, all kind of colleges, businesses, all kind of stuff, just to be able to go and to speak to different crowds. They had spoken to 315 million. Let me see, let me make sure I got that number right. Yeah, 315 million people during that time. That is pretty much the whole country, and then some during that time. That, some of Europe and so forth. So the point were to persuade the population to get involved in World War I. The interesting thing that happened is that they actually persuaded the population to start thinking about getting into World War I and to support the war. But the thing is, people weren't enlisting. So on top of them getting people to they persuaded people to get into World War I, to support the war, excuse me. And they had to get rid of the Chamberlain bill, and they had to put in the draft, universal selective service. They put that in after, which is a weird thing, after they got people to go along with the war effort, but then nobody signed up to go to war. Then they had to put in the selective service, the universal selective service, the draft, and then that got voted in. So then people had to go to war. So it was interesting how it was done. But the idea was to take 15,000 guys, send them all around the country, give a whole bunch of 4-minute speeches everywhere, persuade the population, and then get them involved in war. Of course, we got involved in the war, of course, World War I. It went over there, and that's pretty much it. But like I said, not to give the whole book away, it's a lot more I can get into with it, but anybody can knock this out. It's a lot of good information, but the best information on this is how Woodrow Wilson and the committee, they formed these guys, and how they went around, and their speeches. There's a real good speech in here too, as far as what the things they were actually saying to get people to commit to the war effort. So really good book. I would say check it out. A little bit of information. Just something to, you can figure out like how they persuade people. This book is a good way. One of the ways they use different tactics to change people's minds, and they're going along with the war, going along with selective service, and all of that, and the fight in the country. Because the United States, the population was one that really wasn't that, they heard, the Civil War was like 50 years before this, and, they heard from their parents, grandparents, how bad it was, and the United States was doing good. They really wasn't interested in fighting overseas. Like, why am I going to fight, overseas? And, then they kept pushing the Lusitania sinking, and the Germans had sunk that British ship, and then on top of this, you got these men running around the whole country telling people this is what they need to do, their patriotic duty, get those, buy those saving bonds and all this stuff. So But it's a really good book. But I don't want to give it away. Like I said, it's not much book to give away. It's only 50 pages. But yep, good way to figure. You can see how they persuade the mind. So here you go. All right.